Live from JMT Studios, it's time for Two Jersey Kids, the best video game podcast on the planet.
What is up, all you Jersey kids out there? This is episode 54 of Two Jersey Kids, the gaming podcast that is Two Jersey Kids. I am the host of this podcast, Adam Buckingham. Alongside me is my best friend, the best stick handler in the business. How you doing today, Gary Seisel? What are you up to, my man?
Well, I'm enjoying this beautiful fall weather we have here in New Jersey. It's nice. It's cooling down. It's not too hot anymore. I really can't get enough of it, honestly. But yeah, I'm doing well today. It's sort of like the end of a weird work day. I don't know. You go into work, you sometimes feel like you don't get anything done. That's kind of how it felt today for me. But I'm here now. It's Friday, and we're here to do this.
Yeah, when it comes to work, I feel like I always have to find something to do, because if I don't do anything during work, which can happen in certain jobs, so to speak, I just feel like I wasted a day at work. And so I just try to learn new things like I've always mentioned. I'm sure people are tired of me talking about learning new things and adding value to my life. So yeah, that's about it. But as you mentioned about fall, we were just talking about it before we hit the record button, because you went to the little boy's room, as we, and then we started chatting about the weather. But yeah, I always like going into fall because I'm leaving the heat that is summer. I don't know about you, Gary, but I sweat profusely. Yeah. No matter what, I could be just standing and it's super hot, and I'll just be drenched with buckets, and I just hate the summer. I honestly hate it. I like the fact that it stays light out until late, but I would like it if the heat wasn't so unbearable most of the time, and the humidity, and I would rather have fall, winter, and spring constantly, and just ignore summer. I just get rid of summer. I don't want it. I don't want it.
I don't mind any of the seasons, really. I know a lot of people hate winter. I don't really get it. I mean, I understand it's freezing, but at the same time, I don't mind it too much. I can warm up, but I can't cool down, and that's the thing. Like, in the summertime, I like the summer, but like you're saying, I sweat very easily, and I sweat a ton. That is like a family curse, I swear. And so it's hell for me. I get a shower, I get out of the shower, and I'm sweating already. It's like, this can't be happening to me. I had to take like 30-degree showers just to keep myself cool.
I can't remember. Is your family an AC family, or are they the windows open family?
Oh, AC all the way, man.
Thank
God. God, no. My grandparents, though, like they'll shut off their AC like right around now and keep their windows open. But like, other than that, though, like, even during the summertime, it's like 78 in their house. I'm like, what is going on? Why is this like this right now? It's so hot. I'm like,
I never understood that. Like, going to Marta before we started living together, her apartment would be up at like 78, and she's like, I'm freezing. I'm like, how old are you? Are you like 75 where you freeze at 120 degrees? What is this? I'm like sweating profusely walking from the outside, and then I hop into her apartment, and even though it's a drop, I still get hot again because I finally get to my normal temperature. When it's summer out, I need my apartment at a solid 68 to 72, and I'm happy. When I go to bed, I want it colder because I want to be able to go under the sheets, and I don't want to be waking up sweating profusely in the middle of the night. It's not fun.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And yeah, my mom's one of those people too that can it'll be like 95 degrees out, and she'll be under like 3 blankets in the house sleeping. It's like, what is this? Like,
I never understood that. I think it's just our bodies, women and men, are just made up slightly different, where women just get colder more easily. I need to look into that. There's probably some biological reasons with hormones and all that jazz, all the manly testosterone that runs through our bodies. Manly.
Yeah,
what the fuck am I talking about? This is Two Jersey Kids. You can follow us on Twitter at Two Jersey Kids. Gary, I guess you know what? Let's just roll into This Week in Gaming, brought to you by Gatorade, but not really. It's actually Moby Games. Before you roll into what you've been up to, because I know what you've been up to, and it's going to go roll into the news.
Yes, sir.
What? Just speak to me, Gary. Preach, my man.
All right. So the first game in This Week in Gaming is The Thing, released on Windows, Xbox, and PlayStation 2 in 2002. Now, this was set as a sequel to John Carpenter's 1982 film of the same name. The story focuses on Captain Blake, a member of U.S. Special Forces team sent to the Antarctic outpost featured in the film to determine what has happened to the research team. The game was endorsed by John Carpenter, who voices a character in an uncredited cameo. Now, By the way, all this stuff is, of course, per Wikipedia. You know the deal. Anyway,
you know the drill, Gary. You don't want to do your own work.
Yeah, exactly. It's so much easier to just steal.
Agreed.
But going forward, so apparently this game was supposed to, I guess, also have Game Boy Color and Game Boy Advance versions. But as always, it seems with a lot of Nintendo stuff.
Oh, here we go. It's already coming out.
It didn't really pan out. It was canceled early in development. It might have been a good choice because I feel like whenever you try to take a game like this that's on a legitimate console or PC and try to kind of like transport it onto a handheld, it just doesn't work out well, especially with Game Boy. It never worked out well. So
maybe now with the Switch it'll be more 1-to-1, but I remember back in the day where they would try to translate some game to the Game Boy or the handheld, and just never worked out. It never was right because the handhelds could never handle the processing power that required for these games. So it was basically a whole separate game. I don't even know why they called it the same thing.
And it was always dumbed down too. It didn't really it just didn't flow the same, I guess you could say. But anyway, this game on Windows, Xbox, and PlayStation 2 would actually do really well, receiving scores like 78 out of 100 on Metacritic. And additionally, a sequel went into development after the first game proved a critical and commercial success, but it was canceled when Computer Artworks went into receivership in October 2003. Now, I chose this game not because I ever played it or had any experience with it, but because I vaguely remember maybe seeing it on a Xbox magazine cover or page somewhere.
I vaguely, somewhat, kind of remember it being on a magazine.
And the thing is, kind of funny, the thing is, I remember my grandfather...
Shoot me now, folks! Shoot me now!
Oh, God. My grandfather was a big fan of The Thing, I think the movie or whatever it was. He was a big fan of that.
Wasn't that supposed to be like a scary movie?
Yeah, I think, well, sort of. As scary as 80s horror films could possibly be, yes. I guess some of them were pretty scary, like Alien, but whatever. So I picked this game because I sort of remember playing or seeing it in an Xbox magazine, which, by the way, I very much miss getting. There we go. I got
Good
the
job,
right.
Gary. You made it through.
But yeah, I miss getting those magazines. It was a lot of fun looking at the pictures, which apparently that's all I ever did because I don't remember really anything else besides.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit before the episodes where I would just get excited with all the pictures when I would see Game Informer come in and it had a fancy cover. Never read the words because back me being young, I didn't care about words. Nah. I had books for that. I just looked at the pictures of all these fancy video games hoping that I could play them one day. It never really happened for some of them. So, I can't remember the games, but there were some games in those magazines where I always thought, like, oh, it'd be so cool to play this. Never released, never came out, or it did come out and it just went right over my brain. Because I wasn't in touch with the video game industry as I am now, even though right now it's like on the brink. I'm somewhat in touch and then some not. It just depends on the given week, it seems like.
Yeah. So, moving forward onto the second game in This Week in Gaming is Yakuza, released on PS2, PS3, and Nintendo Wii in 2006. We actually discussed this game in an earlier episode. I can't remember where. Kind of a crazy collection of things going on in this game. But
we talked about Yakuza 0, I believe, the one that came out recently for the PS3.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, crazy shit. But anyway, for those that aren't aware, Yakuza is an open-world action-adventure game with role-playing elements. The player gains experience from combat, which can be used to level up Kazuma's stats and increase his fighting capabilities. Now, in terms of how this game was received by the people, critical reception to Yakuza has been, or is, I guess... This is all in the present tense. Why is this sort of present past tense? I don't know. I don't know what
Gary,
Wikipedia's
maybe you should proofread next time you do This Week in Gaming when you're
not trust Wikipedia. That's why I shouldn't. All my college professors told me to not trust Wikipedia. Here's a perfect example. But the critical reception was actually positive to this game. There was some criticism of its clunky mechanics, but the game was well received for its presentation and story. So overall, Yakuza was a commercial success, selling over 1 million units, and it actually spawned an entire franchise of games, as we just mentioned. A recent game came out for PlayStation 3. So, yeah, very exciting shit here in This Week in Gaming. I don't have any experience with this game, so I'm not going to go into it at all. Adam, I think you should take us into the news, which is what people are here for anyway, right?
Exactly. I think It's not really going to be the news, this first article. It's about more of Destiny 2 has been released. I saw you were tweeting some things about it. It kind of snuck up on me. I didn't realize Destiny was released this week. I thought it was going to be later in the year. It shows how much I'm into the video game industry right now. I got my hand on the pulse, my two fingers right on its neck. I know exactly what's going on and how everyone is thinking because I'm Adam fucking Buckingham. But Gary, what are your thoughts? Because I know you've been playing it. How you been playing it? What are you feeling? Is it vibing you? Is it tickling your giblets? Is it, getting you excited in the nether regions?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure about that, but this game has been very exciting for me. I have to say, I didn't ever jumped on any hype train. I'm not about that hype life, but I will say that this game has very much impressed me in terms of story. It's not like on the the level of Mass Effect by any means, but it has a very coherent, functional story with good characters, good villains, good interactions between the characters.
I was hearing that actually Destiny 2 now the story-wise anyway, feels Halo-esque, which is a good comparison to have because Halo's story was so fantastic and so grandiose that it always captivated me.
It's not I don't think it's as has the amount of depth of the Halo stories, but it definitely has that, like you said, that grandiose feel to it where a lot of the missions now you really are kind of in awe of the environments you're in. They're so massive. They're so, the attention to detail in all these environments is really just amazing to see. So in terms of the story and stuff like that, I've been very much impressed. The gameplay still, like I said before, the gameplay is really one of the things that kept me going in Destiny 1. That's still there. Everything still plays very well. But that was just that was the biggest thing I think that struck me was the story and the characters and also the music. The music's really amazing in this game. I think even more so than the original game. Maybe that's a preference thing, but the music kind of just... I
don't want to keep calling back to Halo, but isn't that what everyone loves about Halo as well? Is that the music is just so amazing and it engrosses you in the story or the mission that you're in. It just swells up your body and makes you feel things.
Indeed. But yeah, I don't really know what that means, but the music in this game is awesome. It depends on where you're going. If you go to the farm social space, you'll get a certain type of music as opposed to going to Titan and Nessus. You'll have all these different types of music playing on these different planets, and like you said, it kind of allows you to get more into the game with how well it's done. So I've really been enjoying the hell out of this game. I don't have that many hours into it really in the grand scheme of things compared to some of these other guys. But I've reached level 20, which is the max level. What's up?
Does it feel like Destiny 1 just with a new, not a paint job, but just...
Not really.
Just it feels like Destiny 1 gameplay-wise mesh into now a different story and, trying to flesh out more of what Destiny 1 originally was supposed to be. I mean, it's still Destiny, but it's not... It just feels so different to me. Everything kind of feels different. Even the controls and everything, even the way it feels,
no.
The gunplay, all that jazz?
No, that still feels the same, which is good. That's a good thing. That's one of the things they nailed in the first game. But as far as, like I said, the story is concerned and the feel of the game, how alive the game feels, the atmosphere, that is completely different in this game, in my opinion. And I think this is basically what Destiny 1 could have been if it hadn't just kind of went off and I don't know. They had some development issues, I guess, with the first game, and it kind of just shot the whole, game to shit, essentially. So this is what Destiny 1 could have been. This is everything that Destiny 1 wasn't, in my opinion, as of right now. But
another main question I have, do they hamper the boring tediousness of patrol missions? Are they any better, or is it just the same old boringness of just exploring the same world?
What's interesting is you do have patrol missions, which actually I just unlocked, but I have to I unlocked patrol missions, I think, after I beat the game, maybe.
Really?
I think that's how it worked. But basically on every planet you land, you have a social space, and you basically have these adventures you can take part in, and adventures are kind of mini story missions, kind of like side quests, and they're actually relatively interesting. I mean, they're not like Skyrim quests or something like that, but
no, they're not going to the same cave, killing the same troll over and over again. That's good.
So it's definitely a step up on the patrol missions where you're kind of just fetching and grabbing. The side quests or the adventures in this game have actual substance to them, it seems. And like the one I just did recently, the one I can remember the most is we basically ran into a Cabal ship. We took the traps they had set up for us. We transmatted them, like basically out of the ship. Basically, which is basically a fancy word for teleporting. so we teleported them out of the ship and then set them in like this forest and set an ambush for these Cabal, and they walked through them and everything went up and like blew up and everything. These crazy explosions. It was pretty cool. Like you wouldn't see that in Destiny 1. In Destiny 1, it was all about like, all right, I need you to kill this target. I need you to kill 10 of these types of fallen enemies or whatever. So it's definitely a massive step up in that regard.
So it sounds like it sort of makes it, because
it's not as monotonous, it's not as tedious. A lot of the grind has been taken out. I will say that. Like I just got my first. I have 3 exotics already. 3 exotic weapons, and in Destiny 1, that really wasn't the case. I remember a lot of times, like when you first started out, at least in the beginning of Destiny, you had legendary engrams, and you would go to decrypt them, and they would turn to rares, and they weren't legendary weapons at all. And it was like you just felt like you were grinding and grinding, but getting nothing out of it. So this game is certainly much different.
I wanted to touch back on to the adventures. It seems like what you mentioned before in Destiny 1, where it's just always go and kill this target, go and kill this person. It seems like from what it sounds like, what you're saying is in Destiny 2, they're playing more with the fact that this is an actual world and you're doing actual things that will be beneficial towards the quote-unquote war that you're fighting. And it's not just the same old, go kill this guy, go kill this person, go kill this thing. It's more of, like, that sounds pretty cool of you going and setting a trap for this, patrol that's coming through, and you're actually doing different things to set up to beneficial yourself down the road, I guess you could say. Like, it feels more of an actual war-torn story.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way. It's not... I mean, you basically took the words right out of my mouth, but...
It feels like you're actually grinding for a victory instead of, oh, you're overpowered, you're going and you're killing this one person. You're basically just committing genocide on all these races because you're so overpowered and you're just taking down their leaders left and right, and you think to yourself, how the fuck did they have this many leaders?
Yeah. I mean, you're still killing a ton of shit, which is what Destiny's all about, but
of course.
There's definitely more of a real, like I said, substance to what you're doing. It's not just like a mindless, like, okay, I'm going to go kill this guy now. So that's really cool. Actually, if I can get back to the story just one last time before we move on, the thing that really blew my mind, I think, was right in the beginning of the game, the tower gets destroyed. I remember you probably played the first mission in the beta. Well, right after that happens, like you lose your light as a guardian, so you're kind of like just stumbling around. Like after the tower's destroyed, you're on Earth, and you're kind of just stumbling around, like trying to like I guess get rescued sort of. But like that moment there, the epicness of like the music and just the atmosphere of that scene, that was like more than anything that had ever happened in the original Destiny. It really was mind-blowing to me in that sense. I was like, wow, this is definitely different. Like I don't want to say I didn't expect Destiny 2 to be good, but I didn't expect it to really like have much of a story to it. I was perfectly willing to accept the game without a story because that's what I've been used to. And
I wasn't expecting the original Destiny.
I mean, in terms of story, I wasn't. I guess you could say I was expecting like a Taken King type story, but I wasn't expecting something that was actually pretty good. It was kind of surprising.
Me personally, I did expect it because it's Bungie. And I mentioned before, Bungie has done great things, and people always crap on them now because of what they released with Destiny 1, but, I mean, it was still a pretty solid game, and Bungie knows story, so I feel like a second crack at it, I felt like they were going to actually do better than what people were coming in, and I kind of had that sort of feeling. It's like, I have a feeling that Bungie is going to actually do pretty well with the story in this game, especially when you see with Taken King that they originally released, and they saw the feedback and people were really vibing what the Taken King was putting down. And I mean, it just seems like from what all I'm hearing is Destiny 2 has been a kind of a shocker to a lot of people. People have been really enjoying it, and maybe I should hop on that bandwagon this Saturday. I don't know though. I feel like there's other games that I kind of want to hop into that I've been sort of on the back burner because
I'll tell you what.
Marta's going out with her mom, look for a dress So I'm going to have all day on Saturday to myself, and I have no idea what I'm going to do with myself.
Well, I'll tell you what, right now, okay, I don't have really a clan right now on console because everybody I play with on console now is a PC, myself included, and we're all going to be playing, obviously, the PC version, but it's releasing in October.
Fucking traitors.
Yeah, well, it's tough now because it's only me and my other friend who still has a console and everything, so we'll be playing together, but we need, like, when it comes time to needing, like, 4 people or 6 people, we're kind of screwed. Like, I don't feel like meeting random people. Who has time for that shit?
Who has time interacting with people in the real world?
No,
Not
sir.
Me! F people.
So
if you're Gary, it's not like listening, people listen to this podcast or anything.
But if you are listening, and if you aren't a douchebag, please contact me at Real Scavenger 18 to play with me in Destiny 2. I'm actually pretty good. I'm pretty good.
Look at that plug right there. Good job, Gary. I'm proud of you. Remember, you can follow the podcast at Two Jersey Kids all the time. We will be releasing, the episode that was released this week. Not that we tweet too much on the podcast, but you can find, we like our own tweets because, we're neurotic like that. I don't even know if that's the right word. But before we move off the Destiny 2 topic, I just want to ask you, Gary, is there any, you feel like underrated feature that people haven't been mentioning too much about Destiny 2? Like there hasn't been too much talked about it, but you feel like you yourself are really vibing that portion of it. You are thankful that they included it. Is it anything underrated? It doesn't have to be anything large, but it could be a small thing, but that you feel like is being overlooked as actually being beneficial to Destiny 2.
I'm not sure about other people, but I really, really enjoyed the fact that they didn't just portray the villain in this game as just some mindless moron that goes around killing everybody. They actually showed him. So for people that aren't aware, they capture the speaker, the villains in this game. They capture the speaker, which is like this guy that speaks. Well, it doesn't matter. He's one of the good guys. Okay, so they capture him, and every now and then, like you'll play a story mission, and then it goes to a cutscene, and it shows the villain, and then his kind of like his mentor, and they're talking about certain things, and they're kind of like talking about how they want to like take over every all these places for the glory of the Empire. And I just think it was really cool to see like the villain not just like I'm going to kill everyone. No, it was like actual conversations, like intelligent conversations talking about what they want to get done. I don't know.
The villain actually had a face and had he was a real
personality,
flushed out character, he or she. I don't even know. Cabal have genders?
I don't know if it was necessarily like he was fully fleshed out, but he had like a personality to him, and it added an extra element to his character that wouldn't have been there again in Destiny 1.
That's a really good point, because thinking back to Destiny, I don't even remember who the main villain was when it first came out. Like I never knew. It just seems like you were just fighting these alien races, and they had some leaders, but they weren't fleshed out at all. But that's kind of cool that they actually sort of made a character out of the main villain. So it goes to show with any storytelling, you need to have an antagonist to your protagonist. It just makes it that much more at stake, even in a video game. But
I'm just really impressed by it. I can't really say enough.
You plan on playing more, maybe streaming something?
Well, it was really a shame. I've been really on the fence about it. Like, I wanted to stream Destiny 2, but at the same time, I don't really want to stream it without a webcam. I just feel like if you don't have a webcam on, it's really hard to grab people's attention. And I'm willing to wait until October to do it on the PC and then finally have like my actual streaming setup. Like I think that'd be much better. But I don't know. It's tough. I'm way better on console at Destiny 2 than I am on PC. I'm not that bad on PC, but I mean, I'm not better than guys that have been playing PC their entire lives. You'll
get there, Gary. You're just that gifted. You're a prodigy when it comes to video games. Let's be real, shooters anyway.
I wish.
But I mean, you can hook up can't you hook up like the capture device?
Yeah, I can. I just need to buy it. That's the only
PS4
problem.
And all that jazz, or not
your
thing.
I would have to buy the capture card. That's the only problem. So it's kind of like I don't really know if I want to spend $100 on a capture card right now. Especially because I need a seat right now. I'm sitting on a damn kitchen chair still for 3 months.
Oh no! Your poor 23-year-old back can't handle it.
Actually, my back's kind of been giving me problems. It's probably because of this chair, damn it.
Wait, aren't you 24 now?
24, yeah.
Shit, how's that feel? I'm about to turn 24 this month.
It's weird. It gets weirder and weirder as you get older.
We're getting close to 25, and that sounds icky. I can imagine people that are 30 listen to this. Like, how old's Gavin? He's probably like shaking his head right now. Listen to us.
Both 30 years old.
Fucking
like Gavin and Lauren are both. My sister Lauren is also 30.
Young pieces of crap talking about you feeling weird that you're almost 24 or are 24.
Time flies.
Those young whippersnappers. Am I right, Gary? But should we move on? No more Destiny 2 talk? I didn't know. Did you want to read the update schedule? Did you have any talking points about that? Right. Or sure. Were you... Is that...
Just a minor thing, really. I mean, so they have an update schedule they released for the first month of Destiny outlining basically what is going to be happening. You know, certain events that are going to take place. When the raid's coming out, they have this thing called, I think it's called the Faction Rally. It must be a new public event that's going to be happening. This is something, again, you never saw in Destiny 1. You had no idea really what was coming. You knew the raid was going to be released. You knew, a DLC was going to be released sometime in the future, but you never knew what was going to happen within a month. You didn't know what was happening week to week. And the fact that they're actually going about releasing kind of like a roadmap, I guess, is really awesome to me. And
do you think they'll continue this, or do you think it's just for this first month?
I think so. I mean, they said before that with the way Destiny 1 apparently was made, it made it really hard to get updates out consistently. But with Destiny 2, they said they had planned on doing things much more frequently. So I think it's very possible they'll continue to do the same type of update schedule. And I really appreciate it because it kind of gives you stuff to look forward to.
Do you think that Destiny 2 now is their original vision for what they wanted Destiny 1 to be?
It's hard. Well, I would say yes, but at the same time, I've read somewhere that they didn't really know what the hell they wanted the game to be when they released it. So that's really an interesting...
That's always a good sign, is when you have no idea what vision you want your game to be in the end. But it seems like they taken feedback pretty well from the original Destiny. People still did enjoy Destiny 1, the shoot and loot game that it was. And I'm sure Destiny 2 is the same thing, just added on some story to it as well. So that's exciting. Exciting to hear that people have been enjoying it, and maybe I'll hop into it in the future. I mean, there's so many games now releasing this fall, and I only have a short amount of time, and so I have to choose a certain one. So maybe Destiny 2 will be the one I'll hop into eventually. Maybe when the price drops. I mean, that's what I feel like. That's the caveat I say now. It's like, when the price drops, I'll grab it because that's when I, maybe future Adam will have more time. Who knows? Moving on. Apparently, Rockstar is bringing LA Noire to Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and VR in a surprise announcement. Rockstar has revealed that its detective adventure LA Noire is coming to 4 new platforms, including virtual reality. According to Rockstar, the new PS4 and Xbox One versions of the game will, quote, deliver the complete original game and all additional downloadable content with a range of technical enhancements for greater visual fidelity and authenticity, end quote, including 4K support for the Xbox One X and PS4 Pro. On the Nintendo Switch, meanwhile, the game will introduce both motion controls and touch controls to the main game, because everyone loves motion and touch controls. That's just me adding my own opinion to it. But I also did see, I didn't add it to the doc, but I did see that Nintendo Switch will have like a $10 tax. It seems like their game will be, the remastered of LA Noire, be $10 more than what will be on PS4 and Xbox One, which is, I think that was reported by Destructoid, so that's kind of funny. But I mentioned this online where I thought this, I mentioned in a previous half episode where I thought this game was overrated. I said that when I commented on the Kotaku article, and somebody said, "What the fuck? The game was severely underrated." And I did the thing, I was like, all right, if you think so, I'd be happy to hear why, with a smiley face. I wasn't trying to be a jerk or nothing, but nobody. And they didn't respond. I'm like, well, what am I supposed to do? Well, you just want to yell what the fuck and just say your own opinion is right? But I laid out in a previous overrated episode why I thought LA Noire was overrated. I thought it didn't handle well. I thought it was the controls were shittier versions of GTA controls, honestly. And I don't know. I didn't like the setting. Mind you, some people may like the setting. I personally don't like the 20 setting all too much. And the story mode, certain stories grabbed me, the homicide stories, but then going from homicide to arsenic just seemed very didn't work out for me, and it just seemed like the story didn't quite grab me on certain portions of where you were in the police department ranks. But Gary, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say the guy did respond to you. It was just a meme.
Yeah,
that was it. So I don't really know. And
was it a guy or a girl? I can't remember.
A guy, I believe. He seemed to be. It was a Jon Snow meme. It was basically him. I think he was getting like rained on, maybe, or something.
Oh, that classic one.
He looked kind of sad, so yeah, I guess he was just disappointed with your point of view. But
he was disappointed that I said, "Oh, just tell me what your thoughts were, and I'll make sure to include them on here, and I'll respond to them as well, because it's easier for me to talk it out instead of typing it. But I would type it too. But they just responded with that, and I was like, that's not constructive at all.
You just couldn't handle the spotlight. Only some people can handle the public eye like we can. You know what I mean?
We just see 300.
I can't go outside my house anymore. I walk outside, I'm just like sworn by media. I'm like,
sorry,
can I please
Gary,
get to my car?
When it comes to a podcast, no one knows what you look like. Let's be real. They hear your voice. Maybe they'll hear. I don't know why they would. I'm just gonna ignore everything that was just said. Moving on. Apparently, PUBG creator wants his games to surpass League of Legends in terms of active users. Seeing as the Battle Royale game is close to overtaking Dota 2 as Steam's most played game, its creator is setting his sights on the only juggernaut left in the market. Quote, our sales curves are just going up and they're not slowing down, end quote, creator Player Unknown told Game Industry. He continues by stating, quote, I'm still waiting for that plateau and it's just not happening. I just look at League of Legends, 100 million active users a month, and I think something stupid like that. End quote. So it sounds like he just wants them. It'd be insane if he reached League of Legends concurrent player totals. And the question I do have to ask you, Gary, you've played PUBG, you've drank the Kool-Aid when it comes to PUBG. Is it possible?
Did they pass League of Legends?
Yeah, 100 million.
It is. Anything's possible,
users.
But. I mean, anything's possible, but I do think it's kind of cocky to be like, oh, our sales are just going up. They're not going down. Like, sure, they're not slowing down. Okay, man. Yeah, we'll see. Like, everybody's so cocky, and then, I don't know, it just came off as cocky to me.
I mean, I'm a superstitious baseball player, and you never tempt superstition. You don't tempt jinxing yourself. You don't tempt that shit. Because you never know, especially in the video game industry, something else can come along. I mean, go with H1Z1 King of the Kill, and then all of a sudden PUBG popped out nowhere, and people hopped on that
that's exactly
bandwagon. You never know what can happen. Where people's mind shares or people's attention span goes to in a video game.
Well, my friend was saying he's wondering how long it's going to take for a major studio to come out with a battle royale game. A studio that has way more money,
maybe more clout, has a larger development team, all that.
And that would be really interesting to see what would happen to PUBG then, because, PUBG obviously it's not a big studio. I mean, I'm sure they have a decent amount of money considering how many people are playing and the fact that it's $30 a game. Mm-hmm. But, I don't know.
I can guarantee you, I just feel like there are talks right now in development studios and large publishers that they want to get a battleground. They're seeing what PUBG has done and how insane they have been doing, and I think they're going to want to do their own spin on that style of battleground game, and I kind of am interested to see what that looks like and if other developers get a crack at it. But we'll see. Who knows? They could make an absolute garbage version of a battleground game. Who fucking knows?
This genre could be very much one of those genres that gets played out real fast. Like, people just, company after company just wants to make a battle royale game, and then eventually it's like, all right, please stop making these fucking games. It's getting old. I think it might happen. It might. And in terms of, okay, get back to the whole active user thing with the League of Legends. I don't know, man. I don't know how this game. Frankly, I really enjoy this game a ton. I just can't believe how big it's getting. It doesn't seem like that type of game that just would get that type of response,
It just seemed like it's hit a wave and it's kept going. Because there's so much people talking about it, and it goes to the saying that word of mouth is like the main thing. People have talked about how much they love this. You see streamers playing it. You see influencers all the time on YouTube playing it, mentioning how much they love it. Giant Bomb talks about it a decent amount of time, and they play games all the time about it, or stream games on it all the time, and it just goes to show you that people do pick up on what other people are liking, and they want to give it a chance, and they've been hearing so many great things about PUBG. I'm sure they would happily put down $30 to just play this game. And also, it does go to show that there's not many battleground games out there, so this has the big market share. So I could see if people really wanted to play a battleground game, this is the route they would go. And I know people on console, I think, are clamoring for it right now. They want a battleground game of their own, and they don't have one. I mean, H1Z1 was promised way back when, but never was actually released.
Yeah, you don't
for
want that
PS4,
game.
I don't think. And now PUBG is coming to Xbox One. I'm sure it'll eventually, because I think it's a timed exclusive. I could be wrong, but I thought it was timed exclusive. So I could see it coming to PS4, or if not, I could see Sony trying to put their weight behind getting another developer, third-party developer, or second-party to develop their own Battleground game for the Sony platform.
Indeed.
Especially because Sony right now, it seems like they don't want to deal with cross-platform play, which has been kind of frustrating. Ark Survival Evolve was another one that came out recently where Sony just doesn't want to.
Frustrating times.
Moving on. Apparently, Bethesda is releasing a game in 2017 that they've told no one about. As reported by Video Game 24/7, Tech Syndicate's recent interview with Pete Hines sees the Bethesda exec rhyming off all the games it has in its pipeline, the majority of which we were shown at E3. Quote, we've got Skyrim Switch, we've got Wolfenstein 2, and The Evil Within 2, and Quake Champions free-to-play, and Elder Scrolls Legends free-to-play, Elder Scrolls Online, Dishonored, Death of the Outsider. We have a ton of stuff going on. We even have a game coming out this year that we haven't even told anyone about. They can wait. It won't be so long. End quote. Gary, do you think this is an Oblivion remaster?
Please, God, I beg of you, let me continue to pour more money in the pockets of Bethesda, please, for these remasters. Not even real games. They're not even new games. Nothing new, nothing crazy. Although I will say, if Oblivion got remastered, it would be an extensive project on their part. So it would be insane.
Would it be even more insane if they decided, you know what, people didn't get a chance to play Morrowind back in the day, and they decided to just do a revamp of it? Do you think it's more likely that this is a new IP, or do you think it's more likely that it's just a remaster, just to throw it out there because Elder Scrolls? Who knows when the next Elder Scrolls game will be released? Maybe they'll release a remastered version of that series to get people still excited and, Bethesda to rake in some more dough.
I was wondering that too. It might be a remaster. And some of the things that kind of give me that impression is the fact that they really haven't marketed the game at all. They haven't talked about it, nothing. Like, you think that if it was a new property that you're introducing to people, you would want to get the name out there at least once?
I mean, Fallout, they gave, 6 months of a release. They announced it 6 months before it was going to be released, and that blew everybody's mind. I feel like that was a good timetable, but right now the time is ticking. We're running down.
So it's like, if it's a remaster, you say, like, okay, Elder Scrolls Oblivion is back. Everyone knows that game, so It's not like, oh, okay. Everyone knows what the game's about, so...
Oh, I see what you're saying, is that they don't really need as much time with a remastered because they've already done their hype before when they were releasing the game, and people know what Oblivion is. They've seen it before. They've seen all these other Bethesda games if it was a remastered, so maybe they could just release it, give it 1 month ahead of time. Hey, we're releasing this game. So that's kind of cool. Maybe it'll be Oblivion. Maybe an Elder Scrolls franchise. I kind of miss it. Bold prediction, maybe Bethesda hooked up with the creators of the Endrel franchise and decided to do a whole release of that game in the Skyrim engine.
Where they bought the rights to KOTOR, and they're making it KOTOR 3.
Oh my fucking God, shut up, Barry!
Bethesda style. Hack and slash lightsaber combat.
That'd be sick, though. Imagine if they did that like a Star Wars, just the Star Wars universe, but like Skyrim first-person combat.
It would be kind of crazy. It would have to be better done, though.
Yeah, it would be like one-hit kill in the Skyrim universe. Let's be real, because lightsabers just cut through people's limbs. You'd have to be able to just... No. I just got a text from Marta saying she's going to need a big glass of wine when I get back. Oh, I guess her day at work has been going swimmingly.
Excellent.
Moving on. Apparently, Warner Bros. Has been accused from profiting from the Michael Forgy's death DLC that was announced last week, or you talked about it. But apparently, just to give you a brief overview, last week, Eurogamer reported, or everywhere reported, that Monolith executive producer Michael Forgy, who died from a brain tumor last year, aged just 43 years old. Forgy appears in the upcoming action game Shadow of War as DLC character, the Forgoth the Orc Slayer. Warner Bros. Is selling the Forgoth Orc Slayer DLC for £3.99 or $4.99. And had said it would donate $3.50 of every purchase to the Forgy family through December 31st, 2019. However, in the small print in the trailer for the DLC revealed, WB Games would only donate money to the Forgy family from purchases of the Forgoth Orc Slayer DLC made from most of the states in the U.S., thus excluding countries outside the U.S. The small print suggested if you're in Europe and you buy the DLC, none of the money would go to the Forgy family. Eurogamer followed up with Warner Brothers to ask for an explanation, and they received the following statement. Neither Warner Brothers Interactive Entertainment nor Monolith Productions will profit from any sales of the Forgoth Orc Slayer DLC, regardless of the territory in which that DLC is sold. So they sort of somewhat cleared it up, but after... I didn't even notice that in the trailer, but that's pretty kind of shitty to even include that in the trailer because you're sort of insinuating that. And after all the good vibes of this trailer, of this DLC being released in honor of the developer, and now the publisher is trying to receive a cut of it, maybe they're not. Maybe that was just a blunder on their part. Maybe that's what they a generic thing that they include in a lot of DLC add-ons. Who knows? But it did sort of bring people down to earth with the good vibes that they had. First microtransactions, then they released DLC. This DLC is going to be released, so it's a good karma, and then this shit comes out. So I don't know. Wait, what were your thoughts, Gary? Did you have an initial reaction to all of this?
I mean, I didn't really believe it at first, and I still don't. I think that Warner Bros. I don't think they'd be that stupid to be like, oh yeah, we're actually going to take money from this and use there's just no way. I don't know. I want to say it's impossible because there's plenty of big name companies out there that have done very stupid things, but I just feel like people are always just really skeptical, and I think this is just one of the situations. I don't think there's any foul play really happening here, so that's just how I feel about it.
Fair enough. People always want to think about things in tinfoil hat theory. So if I actually see their statements and they're taking in money from this, then I'll actually believe it, because that would be a pretty dick move, and that just seems like such an obvious thing not to do. Why would any company just feel like, oh, let's do that? That seems like the right move.
Yeah. So stupid. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Some companies just seem like they're dumb. I just saw Uber right now is getting investigated for some fraud that they're going on because they're in some fucking thing that I read about earlier that I can't rattle off from my brain right now because it's in video game mode. I'm sorry, moving on. Apparently, there's going to be the first women-only eSports car racing competition that has been announced. UK developer Simbin Studios has announced the first women-only eSports car racing competition, Women and Wheels. Launches on Steam this autumn, and it will donate a percentage of its revenue to female-focused charities and aims to provide a supportive, female-friendly environment that encourages more women to play eSports while drawing attention to the often hidden role of women in racing and automotive history. Simbin studio head Alan Speed states, quote, around 7% of our race competitors are female. Unbelievably, that's probably over average. We want to see more women enjoying the thrills and spills of the virtual track and esports in general, end quote. In the end, the overall goal for these initiatives is to eventually lead equal participation and competition with men. Maria Claire Eisenman, CEO, sorry, my phone's going off. CEO of Women in Games states, quote, it's a shame we need women-only teams, leagues, and competition in esports, but until the sector fully matures, becomes more gender balanced, and takes steps to eradicate online bullying, misogyny, that they represent a great way to get more women involved by building communities, confidence, and skills, end quote. Prizes for competition winners include 30,000 euros. I think that's the right symbol. I always mix up them at pounds. Racing simulator, include a 30,000 euro racing simulator chair, 2 Fanatic racing wheels and pedal sets, a life coaching program from Epiphany, Junkie, and more. My initial reaction to this, I had 2 questions. How do you police the fact that it's women only? I guess people register and they have to submit a picture, but what happens? It gets into murky water when it gets into the transgender issues. Like, what if a male thinks he's believes that he is more in the women role and wants to compete in this? Like, how do you police this?
Well, first of all,
this
okay, I'm going to say something right now. Okay,
here we go.
I think this is great. Okay, I do. Awesome. Women only, great. But The only thing that I have to say, though, is that she goes on to say, it's a shame we need women-only teams. We don't need women-only teams. Who says we need women-only teams? Like, we need to balance out the genders. And, I mean, look, there is bullying online. I mean, there's a lot of dickhead guys out there that are going to be like, oh, you're a girl? I didn't know girls play video games. Yeah, it happens. But I don't know if
and those dickheads need to shut the fuck up. Let's be realistic. Those dickheads are just dicks.
I don't think it's to get girls to play video games. I think that happens naturally. I don't think you need to go out there and be like, oh, we just have to get this team together. We have to make it more balanced out there. There has to be the same amount of girls playing video games as guys. It has to be that way.
It's just this goes into the whole argument with culture nowadays where I'm more on the route of let's just let it, culture assimilate and people to finally get their generations. You can't force, especially people in their old ways or older ways, you can't force certain things onto people. You can't tell people to think a certain way or they'll dig deeper into the insane extremes. I mean, that always happens. So this, forcing, like, say you have to have, equal percentage of women playing versus men. I mean, maybe there's statistics stating that less women actually like playing video games. It may not be an insane amount. I'm sure plenty of women do like video games. I think it's proven that a lot of women like video games now with the increase in women playing games. But maybe on a whole, still women are still not as into video games as men, percentage-wise. I'm not saying that none of them are. I'm not saying that they shouldn't play. I'm just saying right now I need to see statistics stating that, it's equal 50-50. I'm sure plenty of women, love playing video games, but we don't have to make it 50-50. We can just make it whatever one side feels comfortable with playing it and the other side feels comfortable playing it. And then I also think that another main thing of issue in here is that the fact that there is misogyny and stuff with people, dickheads online. It happens in fucking on internet all the time because people are just complete dicks because they don't have a face to what they're saying. They have a Twitter egg to say and insult women, and it's the same thing with video games. Is that there's nothing to it. You can just say mean, shitful things, and that's why I've leaned towards just getting friends that I know and stick in party chat because. Honestly, that's whoever does that just fucking cowards and they're pieces of shit. I mean, let's be real.
Agreed. And it also is one of those things where you gotta have a thick skin. Don't go on the internet if you can't handle some asshole from goddamn Arkansas coming out like, "Hey, I hate you. You're a douchebag." Like, there's always going to be that one guy out there, that troll that just tries to get under your skin. Don't let it happen.
But don't you think
boy or girl?
Don't you think different attacks happen on women than men online, especially when it comes to video games?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure that
absolutely.
You get different shit. I mean, you got yelled at for I don't know what, but I'm sure if you were a female, you would have gotten a completely different message insulting you in a completely different way.
It's the creepy guys too online that hear a girl and they're like, oh man, there's a girl playing. It's like it's a little
show
weird.
Off my skills by flirting with her. Watch how I do.
Oh
fucking
god,
idiots! God damn.
Makes me sick.
Yeah. Fuck it. I don't understand people that think that they could, being creepy and everything is going to actually benefit them in the long run. I don't get that. It's like, do you think a woman just going to be like, oh yeah, he's just saying creepy things. I'm just going to hop right on that.
Well, the good thing about a video game setting is that if you get rejected, you just hit the old off button and you're good. It's over.
The fucking mute all button is choice in video games. I always use that, especially in Call of Duty back in the day. Still nowadays, people yelling and screaming, saying fucking ridiculous things. God. People, moving on. Apparently, South Park, the Fractured Buttholes difficulty slider changes the color of your skin. Eurogamer was told by Ubisoft developers, quote, the difficulty of the game affects the amount of money you receive and the way other characters speak to you throughout the course of the game. And, quote, Games Radar actually reached out to Ubisoft asking for more information, and they responded in some fashion, according to them. Ubisoft confirmed that it's just a joke. It doesn't affect combat difficulty or any other aspect of the game difficulty. The slider just changes skin tone. It's pure cosmetic, and I'm sure South Park being South Park, they say some ridiculous thing in the game. I mean, I come to expect this with South Park. They push the boundary on both sides. I feel like they play. I've always seen South Park sort of balance that line on both sides of the aisle when it comes to religion or when it comes to, the stupid social justice people all the way on the left. I think it's the stupid evangelical religious people on the right, the crazy right people on the crazy left. They do a good job balancing in between and, outraging them both.
There's whack jobs everywhere.
And apparently, additionally, if you pick a non-male character, Ubisoft will use a conversation with Mr. Mackey as a smart retconning of the stick of truth, asking if you were a girl the entire time, and then asking to clarify if you were a cisgender. And if people don't know, cisgender is you're actually that you relate to that gender that you were biologically born with, or you're transgender. So I just feel like that's South Park being South Park. These writers always push the boundaries. I'm not outraged as some people probably will be, and I'm sure they'll say plenty of things in the game that will outrage people even more. I mean, it's just what South Park does. They always push the boundaries, and I feel like nowadays you kind of have to take things as a joke. It goes to show people always attack comedians for jokes when they go out to one extreme, attacking the left, or go attacking the right, and I just always think that comedians should be allowed to write the jokes they want to. They're supposed to push the boundaries, and I feel like that's what South Park's writers are doing, and I'm sure there's crazier I played Stick of Truth. There's crazier shit that they say in that game. Crazier things happen. I mean, in the Stick of Truth, you're fighting an enemy underneath your parents having sex. That's a thing that happens in that game. So this doesn't shock me at all. But I can see, of course, people are going to be outraged by this. I think it's kind of funny that they included this. Me personally, I'm sure there's some funny quip by Cartman. I think that they mentioned that in the Eurogamer article, but there's a funny quip that Cartman states. So, I don't know. Gary, I know you mentioned in the prior, before we recorded, this sort of annoyed you, but did I persuade you in some degree to
I can
take
see,
a chill pill?
I can see it. I can see it both ways. I get it. It's funny. It's a joke. At the same time, it's like, at this time in our country right now, I don't know, man. Is it helping anything? I can't really say. I feel like so many people now are so ultra serious and can't take jokes at all when it comes to anything that's slightly controversial. And I just, with this game, it's like this will happen, and then you'll have people freaking out on both sides. It's it's just a whole slew of shit that I could talk about, but it's just not the place or the time on this podcast. But yeah, I don't know. I can see it both ways. It can be funny, but it can also be angering to a lot of people, I'm sure. So. I'm
sure people are going to get pissed off by this game while playing it. It just comes with the territory when you're saying
it's South Park,
and you're playing the boundaries of jokes. And you know what I have to say to those people? Fucking get over it. That's what I have to say when it comes to a joke on both sides. Get over it. You could tell when a joke is good or a joke is bad, but when it's a joke nonetheless, and it's just fucking Jesus Christmas. When can we not tell jokes anymore? Oh my God. Moving on to the final question, maybe make it a little more lighthearted. So I want to end it on a final question. It's kind of news, kind of not, but I saw that Dean Takahashi of Venture Beat was kind of made fun of his Cuphead demo video where he was actually pretty bad at the game. Like, I don't know if you saw it, but he was awful. I'm going to be completely honest. So the question that I wanted to raise is that, do you need to be good at a video game to write about them or review them? I wanted your thoughts, Gary.
Absolutely not, and I'll tell you why. So, if you ever heard of the streamer called Cathalion, the guy is an entertainer. He basically streams on Twitch, but he's an entertainer first. He's not exactly exceptional at any game he plays. He's not bad, but he's not exceptional either. But people still watch him because he's entertaining. Now, he's not writing about anything. He's not like writing articles, but he's still, like, he'll play Destiny, for example. He'll still be playing that game. And people aren't watching him because he's good. They watch him because he's very entertaining. He's a personable guy. You can watch. You can interact with him. He talks to people. And on the other hand, if you look at Destiny once again, I'm using a lot of Destiny today, but if you look at Destiny, for example, a joke that kind of goes around with that game is that the developers never play their own game because there's a guy, his name is Deej. He's like I can't remember exactly what his title is, but
good old Deej.
But he is absolutely god awful at Destiny. But he's like the head of Destiny. Like, he is it. But he's just terrible. And like a lot of these guys are bad. But
I mean, I saw a thing on Twitter where video game developers like, yeah, I'm not good at video games. That's why I develop them or create them.
Exactly. So, I mean, again, this guy isn't a writer or anything, but he's just as important. I mean, he practically makes the game essentially. So you don't really have to be good at video games to get people to like your reviews or like your streams or whatever. You just have to be kind of like a personal guy, be a decent person, and entertain people.
I completely agree. I did want to play devil's advocate because I could understand how when it comes to reviewing a game that maybe that this would lead to more frustration if you're not very good at it. I would hope that you'd be able to understand like yourself, like, oh, I'm not good at this game, but doesn't mean the game's not bad. I can see the good qualities of it, but I just suck at it. It goes to the fact that I remember reading or hearing maybe from a TED Talk back in the day where people actually do perform better. Actually, it goes into the line of when it comes to sports. What I'm related to sports is if you were born in like January, you have a leg up on all the competition or the people prior to you because you're older. But growing up in sports, if you're good at sports, you keep getting conditioned. Like you keep getting rewarded saying, yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're good. So you have a good experience when it comes to that specific sport. But when you're not as good as it and at that sport and you're not getting praised as much, you can sort of get frustrated with the sport. You could sort of, fall off on it. And I can understand that this video games is kind of a microcosm of that, where if you're not getting praised constantly, it can sort of lead to a frustration because you're not as good at it. Because video games are meant to reward the player. When it comes to looting or your XP, you're meant to be rewarded. And I could see where you can somewhat get frustrated, especially if you're not as good as you should be, but as good as some people when it comes to video games, where they have a better experience because they're better at playing the game. Like, for example, the Dark Souls franchise or Bloodborne franchise, where people are better at the game, so they have a better experience because they're not dying at crucial points where they're losing everything that they just collected. What's up, G?
Well, it's funny you say that because my opinion of Destiny, once more, was of the original game anyway. I very much enjoyed playing that game, especially the PvP, because I was good at it. I really enjoyed playing it. It was something about that game that just clicked inside my head, and I could think of things differently and play differently than some players. I don't know. There's something about that game. But it's funny because that alone, that a positive experience I had playing a multiplayer against other people and being good at that game changes my entire outlook of the game. Everything else can be like, I wasn't a big fan of the story. I wasn't a big fan of whatever else in that game, but I loved the PvP, and it changed my entire outlook of the game. So, if I was a reviewer, if I reviewed that game professionally, I might have I'll give this game an 8 out of 10. But someone else on the other end of the spectrum that isn't a PvP person, doesn't like it, isn't good at it, they'll be like, I give it a 6 out of 10 because I didn't like the multiplayer and the single player and the campaign didn't really have much either. So I guess there is definitely, there's both sides again to the story.
But that's also why it does offer a genuine swath of opinions when you have different review outlets having different players of different backgrounds, different skill sets. You're gonna, when you go to Metacritic, that it's gonna combine them all together and give you a nice average of what a game review kind of was. But yeah, I can completely understand that. I mean, that's why when you play when you're good at Call of Duty, that's why we kept playing it, Gary, back in the day. When we played Modern Warfare 2 all the time, is because we were good at it, and we enjoyed being good at it. So I could see why people would get frustrated with that game when getting murked by us all the time and then leaving the game. But then I also see why people enjoyed Battlefront, because that game was not for the hardcore people as much. From what I was hearing when it really came out, like it was a lot of newer people because they came in because of Star Wars, and it wasn't as difficult, especially for people that were really good at the game. It wasn't like the game wasn't as difficult online to play. There was some final thing that I was going to mention, but I can't remember. Oh, and that's where I think multiplayer games sort of need to kind of find a grind where you can be good at the online game without being like a specifically great at shooting people. Like Overwatch does a good job with that, where you have supporting roles where if you do your job, your team will win, and they emphasize more on the team aspect than your individual, which I do think I feel like that could be beneficial to people.
Yeah,
how they feel about an online portion of a game because they're not as good at certain things.
Yeah, I still think that those types of games, though, should be those types of games. There shouldn't be there shouldn't be like a push to make other games like that as well. Like,
I completely agree. That's like what we talked about. Don't force every game to be that type. Let the creativity flow and let the games do what they want to do, and don't tell every first-person shooter be more like Overwatch. Even though I'm sure some publishers are probably saying that now because they see how well Overwatch is doing, selling at $60 and being just the game that it is, which is insane. But solid game. But that is it for all the news this week of episode 54 of Two Jersey Kids. Gary, before we leave, do you have anything to say to all the peeps out there?
Well, it's basically the same stuff I've been saying, I guess. I'm going to be playing some more Destiny 2. I'm trying to get pictures up there. Last night I came home from work and I don't know, I got into this music listening mood and I was just listening to music for like 3 hours straight. Didn't really get around to playing Destiny 2 till late, and then I didn't get to post pictures. Anyway, I'll be posting pictures of my exploits in Destiny 2 this weekend. I'll also be, I think I'm going to be streaming probably tonight. Yeah, tonight. It's Friday. I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. I'll be streaming tonight, probably tomorrow, maybe Sunday. Kind of, we'll see how it goes. But I'll still be streaming PUBG for the most part. So that's pretty much what I'm going to be up to, at least until October 24th when Destiny 2 releases on PC. Then it's going to be all-out Destiny 2 barrage for quite some time.
All day, every day. Am I right, G?
Yeah, buddy. So hopefully I'm much better at Destiny 2 than I am PUBG. So hopefully I can get some people to tune in.
It seems like you do pretty well from what it sounds like. It seems like you end up in the top portions a decent amount of the time.
Yeah, that's true. And I've gotten so much better at PUBG since I started playing. It's crazy. Like, I mean, it takes a lot of hours to get good at that game. But Jesus, yeah, it's quite the difference. But that's pretty much it for me. So what are you going to be up to?
What am I going to be up to? Well, Marta is going to be out all Saturday looking for a dress. She has like 4 or 5 appointments, so I can imagine that's going to be a hectic day for her. So I got to figure out something to do. Maybe I'll play a game finally. It's been a little while. Maybe I'll hop into Hearthstone because I've been watching that a lot. And I kind of just want to go, and Hearthstone's kind of like a chill game where I don't need to focus all the time. It's just a card playing game. So maybe I'll be playing that off and on in between. I think I want to learn more coding, as I always been doing. But I do want to make a reminder now with our schedules and everything that we will probably be releasing episodes later on Fridays due to both Gary and I's schedule. Sort of work schedule's been getting in the way, so I just want to give people a reminder about that. So it seems likely that we'll be releasing on late Fridays instead of early in the morning Friday. I mean, granted, if a Thursday does work out for us in the future, we will happily record on Thursday, so it's less of a hassle when it comes to the Friday, especially with me releasing stuff. But I do want to thank you, Gary. You helped me out with the news articles this week. I appreciate that a lot because sometimes it falls by the wayside with work and everything, so appreciate that.
Yeah, buddy.
I appreciate all you Jersey kids that listen through all this. I do want to there is a quick 20 minute of me and Gary at the beginning. If you're curious of what me and Gary talk about before we start recording, there's that because I decided to hit the record button. So that's going to be after the outro music. Stick around, hear us talk. I think we blab about Hurricane Irma and random things along that nature. It may not be that entertaining, but maybe you'll like it. Who knows? But yeah, this has been Two Jersey Kids. If you are a continued listener, we appreciate you and love you so much. If you're a continued listener, I might add, you are Jersey Kids. So when I say Jersey Kids, I reference you all. If you are a new listener, please hit that subscribe button if you made it through all this whole episode. We would really appreciate that. And please review us on iTunes. It would help us greatly. I think we're still at 20 reviews. I haven't checked recently because I've been in the weeds when it comes to work and I haven't been paying attention to the podcast, which I'm kind of sad about myself. We're still at 20, but hopefully we'll make it to 40 by the end of this year. Who knows? Another year, we gotta go. We're on episode 54. We have 50 more episodes to finally get there, G. But yeah. We appreciate and love you all. So before I say bye, Gary, you have to say bye.
Adios.
All right, y'all. Have a good day. Keep playing those games. Have a good weekend. If you're in Florida, all the Florida Jersey kids out there, please be safe. I love you all. We love you all. Bye. Solid. You got nothing done.
It just felt that way. Like, you know, you have those days you go in, you're like, what am I doing exactly?
I mean, that happens to me every single day where I'm just like, what the hell am I supposed to be doing today? I was like in my unassigned mode, so I sort of just like sat and started learning more coding, just doing my thing. And I'm like, why am I here? Why do we even work 8 hours? Like, that's the question that I always ask is why are we working 8 hours?
It's a damn good question.
Like, wouldn't it be great if it was like 4-day weeks working 6 hours a day? Fucking phenomenal.
That would be sick.
Yeah, having the 4-day week this week was choice. It was fantastic.
Oh, yeah. It's true. We did. It didn't. I don't know. It was nice. That's the thing. Part of my week got like thrown off because usually I'll go in on obviously Monday, Wednesday, Friday for this one job, and this week I didn't. So I had to kind of like make up those hours. I'm supposed to be doing like 10 hours a week essentially. So I'll be going in on Sunday, which is not a big deal to me.
Are you talking about the new gig that you have? Do you have to do 10 hours a week with that one? So that's sort of part time.
Well, it's like 8 to 10 hours, but like I want to get 10 hours for the money purpose.
Yeah, of course.
So I'm going in.
Can you work more than 10, or is it just capped at 10? Is that the amount
10,
that you...
10 max, unless like he feels I need to be there longer, which I don't really know why that would be necessary in some ways.
How's it going, by the way?
It's going fine. I mean, it's cool because he kind of lets me do my own thing, and I can suggest things, and he'll usually take my word for it because he calls me like the marketing guy. He's not a marketing
fucking Seisel. That's why.
Exactly. I haven't done This Week in Gaming yet,
of course
so
not.
if you just give me a sec. I don't know. I've been like all in shambles these past couple days.
Yeah, I've been hearing that Destiny 2 has been doing actually pretty well according to people. Like
it's good.
I heard
it's good.
If you weren't a fan of the first one, it may not win you over, but people have been really enjoying this.
Honestly, I mean, from what I've played so far, it's really good. It's not even. I mean, it's been rated pretty high too on IGN. Like it was given like an 8.7. That was a review in progress. Mm-hmm. It's really good. I mean, if you're not a fan of that style of game, that's one thing. But if you are, I mean, I don't know how. It's basically everything that Destiny 1 wasn't. That's the best part about it. It's still like that's how I would describe it to people. The story mode. There's actually a story.
There's actually a story because I've heard that people have actually been enjoying the story. It felt like Halo-esque.
It's good. It's good, dude. It is good. And the thing about it is that the characters in it are also just, good characters. Like the villain they have is solid. And they show like the villain and his interaction with his soldiers and like his friends. And so it isn't just like a mindless villain that's just going across the galaxy and killing everything in sight. It's pretty cool. Like it is really good. Well done on their part.
Is Nathan Fillion the top character in this? That's all I have to ask.
I would have to say, I think so. He's just the most. You can tell he's an actor. Yeah. You really can. Because
I mean, he's done voice work too before. I think on like the Green Lantern animated series, so he knows how to do it. But like his personality always shines through when he's in that character, and you can just tell that it is him in that character.
He's fantastic.
Oh, and This Week in Gaming, do you want to mention Dot Man? Whatever the fuck that is.
I know.
That's a game, all right.
What's really annoying?
Puzzle Rocks.
What's very annoying is the fact that every time I go to Moby Games now, I have it bookmarked, but it bookmarks to August 15th when I bookmarked it.
First world problems.
It's so annoying now. It's like,
Dirt 2. Not seeing anything of mention right now.
It's nothing that great. We could skip it if you want.
Nah, we'll find something. I'm only on the first day. The Bible game. Now that's a game I never played.
Speaking of slightly controversial topics, the whole South Park thing, dude, that pisses me off, dude. I'm sorry.
That pisses you off?
I mean, to some degree.
We'll get into more of it actually, like in the episode. But the Bible game, that reminds me of. I was seeing that apparently somebody released like a fighting game that I don't think we're going to be talking about on this episode, but it was like a fighting game where Buddha's fighting Jesus, and I'm like, well, that's probably going to piss some people off. And I heard it's like absolute garbage too, so I don't even see the purpose. Yakuza, that's a classic franchise back in 2006. You can put it on there.
What's it called again?
Yakuza? You never heard of that series, Gary?
Yeah. I didn't hear you originally. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, most recently was like Yakuza 0. I remember watching. The game is so strange. I remember watching videos from like Giant Bomb, and they went around beating motherfuckers up with like a baseball bat or some random thing, and then the next moment they're in like a nightclub dancing, doing like a dance club minigame.
Oh yeah. We were talking about this before.
Were we?
In one of the other episodes or older episodes, we talked about how ridiculous the combination of things is, I guess.
World Series of Poker. Man, I used to be so into World Series of Poker.
Really?
Do you remember that? Like, it felt like I was so into watching it like on ESPN, especially like during random days when you get home from like school and nothing else was on, and I wasn't feel like playing. Just fucking poker's like the only thing on. So I remember watching that. I remember watching what was his name? I think his last name was called Moneymaker.
Yeah.
And he won like 2003 or some World Series, the championship, like the large championship. And I remember being really into that, like remembering like the good poker players. They're still around. I don't even know if like we really consider, like, do you consider poker skill? I guess it's skill, like reading people, but do you consider it skill when it's just a bunch of card draw?
Yeah, like, I don't know, dude. I mean, it is like, I guess it is sort of skillful. I mean, you have to have like, you have to play it a certain amount of times to understand certain things. Like you said, understand like reading people, and that I can see. But like my thing that pisses me off, honestly, when it comes to like hobbies, for example, like poker, is like people that think that like bowling is a sport. It's not a sport.
I mean, no. So what would you consider? What would you put that under? I mean,
it's a hobby.
So how do you
consider?
Yeah, it is a hobby, I guess. So what, you consider eSports a hobby too?
I don't know. I don't consider gaming a sport though. It's gaming. It's not.
Don't you consider gaming a hobby?
Well, yeah, but it's what I'm saying is like the people that go around and be like, oh yeah, like bowling is definitely a sport. No, it's not. It is absolutely a game. It's a game.
So where do you come down on golf? Because that's
tough too.
That's a little more athletic, but still, it's not really. You're not really. If you're shooting multiple rounds like a day, I guess you can see like it can cause a lot of back problems, back issues if you're not athletically inclined. But again, that's up in the air debate right now.
I don't know. I mean, I know like you do have to be in decent shape to like for all the walking and I can see that. But like
walking. You walk 4 miles, but still, it's walking nonetheless.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know.
Walking is good for you. Tip to all the folks not listening out there.
Let's see here.
But what I was going to say... Burnout 3 takedowns on this list. That's the solid one. Yeah. Fucking A. What happened to Burnout? I would really love Burnout to come back. That game was so ridiculous. I mean, they released, what was recently? They released something that was like Burnout, like the crash mode. There's like something, there's something in like games where it's just like the crash mode is just a lot of fun. Like I remember, what was the old biking game that I used to have? It was like copying of like Tony Hawk.
Motocross?
No, it was like Dave Mira's Dave Mira BMX Extravaganza 2.0, whatever the fuck it was called. But I remember specifically they had like a crash test mode where you would see how like hard of a crash you could have. I remember just doing that constantly just because that was a lot more fun watching the ragdoll physics of your guy just flying like crazy. And I remember I used to exploit the glitch all the time. There was like on this one level where you would go down like a ramp. I completely forget what the level was called. Not that it's important at all, but you could just glitch out the game where you just jump into a railing and your guy just constantly like hits the railing over and over and over again, and your like score gets racked up to like 1 billion, and we're like, oh sweet. That reminds me, like the glitching in games are always fun when you can still sort of play through it. I remember Tony Hawk. I remember I was doing one in Tony Hawk Underground. I think there was a competition portion where you're trying to be the top of it. I know you're probably focusing right now, but I'm just yapping in your ear. Sorry. But I remember I went up a ramp, and I don't know how it happened, but I got caught like in the ceiling, so I could constantly do flips over and over and over and over and over again until like my score got into like the millions, and I finally somehow came back down, and I just won the competition pretty handedly, obviously, because I just racked up the multipliers. Man, I really wish Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 was any good. They fucking shat the bed on the most recent one released. Did you see that pile of garbage that they released?
No, I actually never played. I haven't played a skating game since Tony Hawk Underground, I'm pretty sure. The one that takes, I think you start off in New Jersey.
Classic. That's why I love it, is because it rep in Jersey.
A critical prototype of dynamic. Okay.
But, yeah, they fucking shat the bed with Tony Hawk 5. It was a glitch monstrosity. Oh, it's so sad because I loved that series. Like I even played the ridiculous ones, like Underground 2, where it got more ridiculous, went more of the jackass route. Then you had American Wasteland on the 360. Project 8 was another one that I actually somewhat enjoyed. So solid stuff. Yeah, I try to interact with people online and Twitter this week because I started getting back into the flow of interacting with people. Talked about how I thought the LA Noire was so overrated. And they said, "What the fuck? It's the most underrated game." So I'm like, "All right, tell me why." I got nothing except for a meme. I'm like, "What is this? That's not how you interact with anybody."
I saw that too. Yeah.
Nah, people just want to just say asinine things like that they're 100% right, but then they never want to back it up with why they think of that a certain way. I mean, I mentioned it in one of the episodes where I just thought it was overrated. It just didn't handle well. I guess some of the portions of the story were good, but it seemed very obtuse to me anyway. And just something that didn't really tickle my giblets, as I always say.
Interesting way of putting it.
Yeah. Ooh, doctor. I'm actually thankful that we get to record this podcast because with Hurricane Irma and everything.
Oh yeah, how's your mom doing? I actually meant to ask you about that.
She's okay. They're planning on trying to tough it out because they're in a non-evacuation zone right now where they are, and her house is actually built of concrete and not wood. So. Nice. I'm hoping that'll help out, and they have like a retention pond in that area, even though I was trying to talk to her. I'm like, I don't think if you're going to get buckets and buckets of rain, I don't know if one retention pond's going to help too much with the flooding, because that's what I'm mainly concerned about. But I think David and my uncle are all staying it together, so they're all together, so... Like, that's the difficulty. Like, if you leave now, everything is backed up, like the side roads and everything. Even, like, I was hearing stories that, like, gas stations ran out of gas and fuel to give out to people. So when you're, like, in the middle of Florida, you kind of can get stuck, which is scary. So I was like, oh, if you're leaving, I suggested maybe just go to a gas station nearby if it's empty. I mean, not empty, but if there's, like, nobody there, just because it's, like, on the coastal region, if you get closer to the shore. Go there and just pump up a bunch of gas tanks or gas containers. But
dude, I'm sometimes thankful to live in New Jersey. Like, no matter, like, even though it's not like the most beautiful area in the country, you don't have like the crazy weather events that can potentially happen. Like, you go to Florida, you get hurricanes. You go to California, you get wildfires and earthquakes. Mm-hmm. Like, it's, over here, it's kind of like you get like a thunderstorm, bad thunderstorm, maybe a bad snowstorm, but nothing like devastating typically.
Except for that random earthquake that we got. Well, going into my freshman year of college.
The one thunderstorm that hit us a couple of years back now, maybe a year ago, that like knocked our power out for 4 days. That was bad. That fucked up our entire area. Trees were down. Power's out for some people like a week. I was like, holy shit. That was the worst storm I've ever been a part of, because I was at work when that happened, and then I got home and we drove through basically like the fucking people's houses were all fucked up and everything. It was bad.
When was this?
Like probably maybe a year ago, maybe 2. You weren't. I think you had already moved by then.
Yeah, but I do remember hearing family talk about it. And I was still at Maryland. If it was 2 years ago, I was still at Maryland. So I wonder if we got a brunt of it. I mean, we do get crazy. Maybe a tropical storm here and there, if that. But
yeah. What was interesting is the fact that like some people weren't even affected. Like, if you drove like 5 minutes away from me, those people didn't have the same storm that we did. It was like really concentrated, crazy thing. And over in like Deptford, like the mall, there was like cars flipped over in the parking lot and shit.
Jesus.
It was insane. I was like, what happened? Like, what is this?
Weather can be crazy, man.
Indeed.
All right, so I see you're almost done with This Week in Gaming, so we can get the show on the fucking road. I know.
Yeah, buddy.
We're excited. Oh, man, but I did think that with Hurricane Irma that it was cool PR move by JetBlue. Did you see that, where they capped the prices for their flights out of Florida at like $99?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I was looking at other prices for flying out now because the demand is so high for other airlines, like on Google Flights. They were like the $900. I'm like, wow,
Assholes.
what fucking dick moves.
I know. It's like it really is just scumbag, like a scumbag thing to do.
It's like the same thing with like, I didn't get, I felt like this would be a good time for the NFL to do like a good PR stunt, because NFL doesn't really have that great of PR nowadays with everything on both sides of the aisle attacking them for certain things. And I just thought like maybe because they canceled the Tampa Bay Miami game. Granted, people bitching about it like, oh, fantasy wise, that's stupid. I'm like, shut up about that. Who cares about that? But I was saying like they should have held it at a neutral site and did all the proceeds that game brought in. We should have gone to like some relief for, in Florida, whatever does happen, or help out Hurricane Harvey, or do something nice, for a change with the NFL. I mean, it's like fucking NFL is just a hard time thinking of good PR strategies. I thought of one right there, just good PR moves.
What was it? Watt did a really amazing thing when he got all this deal to donate all that money.
Yeah,
like,
I donated to that fund. It's like up to $20 million now. Nice,
yeah. It's crazy, dude.
I mean, people are willing to give.
Well, that's the thing. Okay, so I'm not trying to get into our political discussion, but
here we go.
This one woman, Chelsea Handler.
Yeah.
Real douche. Anyway, she she posts on Twitter like, I just want us to be a country that cares about people and does things for others. I'm like, have you seen the charities for these hurricanes? Have you seen people volunteering, donating money? I think that of any country in this world, we are the country that cares the most. I mean, you see us donating good clothes, food for people that we'll never meet across the world, and also in our own country itself. Like the idea that this country is like, that we just don't care about anyone anymore is just a complete myth. It's just made up.
It's not true, because, I mean, it's just, we're the most, I do think, I agree with you that we are the most giving and everything, and I just feel like people want to be hyperbolic, and sometimes people want to shit too much on the United States. I mean, I think people take for granted where they are. They're in the most prosperous country in the world. They don't have to deal with crazy... They're not in like a third world country, which people are just trying to scrap to survive, which is insane. And I just feel like people take it for granted, and they just want to shit on everything instead of, maybe think of ways to fix it. They just want to bitch and complain.
Yeah. No, it's like, I'm not sure if I told you this or not, but I was like, we've gotten to a point in society now, or at least in our society, where you really don't have to worry about much when it comes to eating or drinking, whatever.
Yeah.
So people just come up with like imaginary issues and then just complain about them nonstop to make them a real big deal. It's just, waste of breath.
Yeah.
All right.
Newsflash, retweeting is not going to get anything done. Actually going out and doing something or donating or...
Oh, yeah. The lazy social media activism. Absolutely. Don't worry. If I put the French flag over my face and on Twitter, that's awareness. It's like when the bombings in France, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, I did that too, but I did also do the thing called donating,
Well, yeah, that tends to help. Yeah.
But I mean, it does raise awareness, I guess you could say, but I just feel like people sometimes rely too much on just like the share or the retweet or... doing that thing. Like, I donated to the J.J. Watt's, fund for Harvey relief, and then I shared it, because then hopefully that other people kind-hearted enough would be donating to it. Yeah. It's just frustrating.
All right. I should be good on everything.
Right.
I found, I don't really have much for either of these games, because I don't really have experience with them, so it's kind of like, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Wait, you don't have experience. Why'd you put the first one?
Well, actually, the reason I chose that is because I remember it. I think it might have been on one of the covers of the Xbox magazine that I used to get.
Of course, nostalgia.
And I'm going to put that on there. So
Yeah, you might want to mention that in the episode. You know,
I miss those magazines, man.
Do your due diligence.
Yeah.
I miss. I used to get Game Informer. That thing used to be the shit. I love looking
sick,
at the color, the cover,
the pictures.
Yeah, I never read the articles because F words. Am I right? But I would look at the pictures left and right, see how well a game did. Like I would go back to the back portion of the Game Informer where they would rate games, and I would just look at the pictures and see how well they did. And I just thought it was amazing. When those beautiful, sleek magazines came into the mail, I got so excited and so hyped.